Hi friends, my name is Nikki and I am the host of Source Clarity. Source Clarity is a way for us to align with our inherent high-level brilliance. Source Clarity is a way for us to live a life that is guided by who we really are, because who you really are is unconditional love. And when you realize or align with that unconditional love that resides within you, you are tapping in to the intelligence of the highest of highs, because who you really are is an aspect, is an expression of the all that is, the highest of highs, source energy. And so when you harness high levels of source clarity, you are aligning yourself with the highest expression of wherever you feel we come from, that source energy. So I am so excited to have you here. I'm so excited about today's topic. We are focusing on all things intuition. And if you're new here, share this like 2 minutes ago or a minute ago, whenever it is, but my name is Nikki and I'm an intuitive healer. And essentially what that means is I help people identify the unresolved emotional wound or the emotional imbalance or the energy block that is holding them back from living a life that feels in alignment with fulfillment, high level of joy, living out essentially their destiny or their potentials. I help people uncover those blockages that they feel are unovercomable, those obstacles, the adversity that feels unovercomable. I essentially use intuition to read their energy to see where is this needle in a haystack blockage that has been holding them back all this time from living out their destiny, their purpose, their mission, living out their joy and their fulfillment. Now, the incredible thing about this is that we all have intuition. So I help people from all around the world also develop their intuition so that they can pull information from their inner voice, from their inner compass, the greatest North Star that we have in this world. It is our intuition. It is the greatest guiding light that we have in this planet. It's one of the greatest forces for living a life, again, that feels fulfilling and in alignment with who you really are. It's funny, I was recently attending church with a couple of friends, and yes, sometimes I like to attend church. I like to go to any space that aligns people deeper with a higher power, with source, with God. And I was at church with a couple of friends, and one of my friends, she asked me this question. I can't remember exactly what the question was, but it was something along the lines of asking for a little bit of guidance or a little bit of advice. And I was leaning towards intuition. I said something along the lines of intuition, and her response to me was actually perfect. Her response to me was, well, I feel like I have really great intuition, because I think I said something along the lines of developing intuition. It's the greatest asset that you can ever give yourself. It's the greatest investment that you can ever give to the self. She goes, well, I feel like I already have really good intuition. Here's the thing. She was accurate, okay? She was completely accurate. But something to understand is that intuition, it is like a language. You can be inherently gifted as an athlete or a communicator, but without strengthening your relationship with that skill set, it doesn't mean much. Now, we all have this incredible inner knowing, especially when we were children. We were incredibly connected with this inner knowing. But as we progress on the adventure that life has to offer, and we go through the traditional education system, or maybe you didn't go that path, but still you absorbed the noise of the outside world, slowly as we progress on the adventure that is life, that inner voice gets silenced. And we forget, I shouldn't even say, I guess it's a sort of a forgetfulness, but our teachers and our parents in the world, they just didn't have the skill set to teach us actually how to get to know that inner voice, that inner compass, how to strengthen the relationship with source, our higher self, and utilize it as day-to-day guidance. A lot of us have heard this word out there, especially in the spiritual world, intuition. But what if in your life it became like a scientific instrument where you utilized it as an asset, as a way for you to live out your day-to-day life in regards to literally the foods that you eat? How many of us hear all this noise, especially on social media, about diets that are better for you, for humanity? It's like eating this kind of way, whether it's an all meat or it's all veggies or whatever it may be. right? There's all these different kind of resources out there. What if your inner voice had a unique diet for you that would optimize your physical health, optimize your life, and align you with your destiny, your mission, and your purpose? And so what if we were to use intuition in our day-to-day life for identifying people in our lives that we are going to serve each other, for financial investments that we could make? A lot of us, we hear the word intuition and it's kind of gotten lost in translation as this sort of spiritual woo-woo thing, when really we can utilize it as a scientific instrument, and science is now just beginning to catch up to all the proof that intuition has to offer, that it is a thing that humans were born with. And the way that a fish can swim, humans are intuitive. We are, whether you know it or not, reading energy all the time. And the example I give all the time is like, how many times did you have a feeling a friend that you hadn't talked to in a long time, or a close friend, was going to call you, and then they call you? Or someone walks in a room, like a coffee shop that you've never met, and you get this feeling about them. The feeling is either positive, it might be negative, it might be a little bit more nuanced in between. You interact with that person, and it turns out that feeling that you had about this person was spot on, or your friend is dating someone. You've never met that person that your friend is dating, and they're talking about how amazing this person is. And intuitively, you feel like something is off. You're like, what's going on here, right? And all of a sudden, you end up meeting them, and then you're like, okay, you still feel like that feeling's amplified, that negative feeling, or that maybe it's positive, but maybe it's a negative feeling about your friend who's dating this person, and they're saying all these good things on paper, but energetically you feel off. Months go by, maybe years, and it turns out that intuitive feeling that you had was spot on. Or how often have you not listened to your intuition and you wish you did listen to your intuition? So intuition, again, it is something that we can develop. It is something like a language that we can learn. It is essentially learning the language of light. If you were to ask a scientist to do their best to describe God, like, hey, scientists, if you had to describe God, they would say that it is light. And we are all made of these like light photons. We're all made of quantum physics, shows that everything is energy of energy. So we're all broadcasting energy. We all have energy. We have a frequency. We have a vibration that is, we are reading all the time. And everything in this universe, quantum physics has shown us, it is energy. A tree, it is filled with energy. It has information, and quantum physics has shown us that energy is information. So again, that tree is filled with an array of information. Your thoughts, they produce electrical impulses, and they're broadcasting information, right? It's all information. Your emotions. We have what's known as an electromagnetic field, and the heart broadcasts the greatest electromagnetic field of any organ in the body, right? And so that is filled with information. How often have you been around a friend and they're on the outside smiling, 2 thumbs up. They're saying that they're fine. You interact with them, you're hanging out with them, and you can feel their emotions. It's because you're feeling the energy. That is intuition. So intuition is understanding. It is decoding. It is learning the language of light, because everything in this universe, it is made of light. And when you learn the language of light, you begin to learn the language of your soul. Intuition is a two-way communication between you and the highest expression of you. Intuition is a connection with you and the all that is. I think a lot of us, especially in the spiritual world, right, or religious world, we've heard this word prayer. Prayer is actually an underutilized technology, because a lot of us are aware that we can pray to source, to God, to a higher power. When you develop your intuition, you can send those prayers and actually receive information on the other side of that line. So a lot of people know that they can communicate with source or a higher power, but did you know that that higher power can then communicate back with you? And source has an array of information to offer you. And that is one of the most exciting aspects in developing your intuition, is that there are conversations that you can have with your higher power, that you can have with your higher self. Now, anything that exists in this physical realm, it had to start off in the energetic, through a thought, right? And if you think of something like an iPhone, it started off in the energetic, a thought. If you think of something like a book, it was an idea, it was energy first. I'm sharing this with you because anything that exists in the physical, it had to exist in the energetic first. And this is going back to what I was originally talking about, which is if you have friends in the physical, that must mean there are friends in the non-physical. And so you have guides and you have angels in the non-physical that you can communicate with. And it's so funny when you develop your intuition. And one of the things that I've done is I communicate with guides, and I communicate with angels, and I communicate with other people's guides and other people's angels. And one of the pieces of information I get more than anything from other people's guides and angels when I get to work with them is that, hey, we're here. They just don't realize it, and so they don't ask for our assistance. And so I find it pretty funny is that like they're this friend that is ready to help, but a lot of the times we don't ask for assistance. And when you develop your intuition, you're able to identify the information that they have for you. And so intuition, it is this underutilized asset, skill set that we all have access to. And like my friend shared in the beginning when I was talking about intuition, she said, I feel like I'm really intuitive. That's correct. We're all born intuitive. But again, as we progress on the adventure that life has to offer us, our school system, our teachers didn't have the information for us to strengthen the skill set, so we started listening to the world. We thought that our inner voice wasn't important because, again, just the way that the world is currently set up. And then a lot of us, we begin to live a life that feels unhappy. It begins to feel unfulfilling. We feel like something is off. We feel like we're made for something bigger because that's our inner voice tells us this. But we've been so conditioned to listen to others, especially through the traditional education system or whatever it may be. And the world is filled with contagions. Most people are doing what other people are doing because we are biologically wired to stay safe. And if we think other people are safe, we'll just do what they do. But ultimately, this has us living out a life that is not our own. The question that I want to present to you in the first step in accessing your intuition is, who were you before the world told you who you should be? And let's pause for a second because I want you to think about that. Let's all take a breath together. I'm going to say that one more time, and then we're going to take a breath. Who were you before the world told you who you should be? Let's take a deep breath in. Who were you before the world told you who you should be? And when you can begin to answer that question, I actually want you to see if you can let go of trying to figure out that answer. And I want you to allow your natural intuitive self to arise and see what comes to the surface, okay? Now, the mind, again, has been conditioned to be a certain way, right? The ego has a job, and the job of the ego is to keep you safe and alive, essentially, is what it is. When you develop your intuition, it's great and it's fun, but it can be a little bit frightening because your intuition will have you making decisions that are outside of the decisions that your ego or your conditioned self would have for you. It has you step into the unknown, and the unknown is where everything you desire to attract exists. And so I have found that the consequences of not having intuition outweigh the consequences and the challenge, not consequences, but the challenges that happen through developing your intuition. If you think of developing your intuition like going to the gym, it's a little bit challenging at first. Yeah, you got to lift the muscle and your muscle grows, and you got to have the proper diet and the protein and the things of that nature. When I first learned how to play the guitar, okay, it was a little bit challenging. It hurt my fingers. I was like, ouch. I was like, guitar teacher, this hurts. And my guitar teacher was like, just keep on going. And I couldn't really get bar chords, right? That was hard for me. Then one day, I got bar chords. And it just kind of clicked. Now, when you first begin the process of developing your intuition, it's fun. It's actually, there's this honeymoon phase. But again, your intuition, and we'll get into this in a little bit, will have you making decisions that are going to challenge your ego, or you may not see the bigger picture. And we're going to get into that a little bit. But I have found when you go down the path that is absent of intuition, right? When you begin to just rely on practicality, when you begin to rely on logic, what you're really relying on, again, is the noise of the outside world. These ideas of who you should be or what you should be doing. Your inherent high-level joys and interests reside in identifying who you were before the world told you who you should be, and that's where your intuition resides and exists. And if you're living life by practicality, if you're living life only, I should say, because practicality is positive, but only by practicality, only by logic, only by what other people are doing, There's something in you. There is this spirit within you. There's this high level of intelligence, this aspect of you that is intertwined with source energy within you that is going to feel suffocated. There's going to be something off. It's those stories that you hear about people that have billions of dollars and they actually end up, okay, we're getting dramatic here. I'm not saying this is your case. I want to preface this because I am getting dramatic, but these are true stories of people that have billions of dollars and they take their own life because something feels off. Everything on the outside, they did everything right to make the money. Everything on the outside, but it wasn't living life guided by their inner light, their inner knowing. And so for you, again, that was an exaggerated example, not to just throw that out at all of you, but as you progress on your path and you only live by practicality and logic, there's going to feel like something's wrong. You might have the things that you're asking for. You might have the job and the safety and security, but something's going to feel off. And momentum is a heck of a force in this universe. It is one of the most powerful forces that we have in this universe. We are the creators of our reality. And so if you feel like something is off, you're going to attract more experiences, circumstances, people that are going to reflect that back to you because we are the creators of our reality. And life is a reflection of our energy. Life is a reflection of our frequency and our dominant vibration. So if your dominant vibration is one of something is off, you're going to attract more of that into your life, and that's going to expand and grow. And essentially what it is a lesson. It is teaching you something more about who you really are. It's teaching you something more about your true nature and your proximity to your connection with that true nature. And that is what happens. And so I found that when you go down this path and not developing your intuition, maybe you attract what you desire, but it's a lot difficult. You're going to feel as if your obstacles, your challenges are unovercomable. Okay, we just hosted a webinar about aligning with your destiny today. And we're actually going to talk about that today in today's episode. And we talked about how there's this feeling, this familiar feeling, and a feeling that a lot of us can relate to where there's certain obstacles, maybe like 2 to 4 obstacles that we all have in life that feel unovercomable. And we don't know why, we don't know what it is. When we don't have our intuition, it's going to feel like those challenges are just simply unovercomable because it's like having blinders on. I have found that when you don't have your intuition, the relationships, the quality of your relationships definitely begins to feel like it is much lower. Like especially even if you're around someone that you love, the quality of the conversation is much lower versus when you have your intuition. I have found that without intuition, again, you're doing things that you think you're supposed to do. That feeling isn't liberating. But when you're doing things that they challenge you a little bit, they don't necessarily feel practical. It's kind of like the way that I can compare it to, it'd be like jumping off a metaphysical cliff's edge, or let's just say cliff's edge, and trusting your spirit wings to catch you. Yeah, it's going to be a little freaky, but when you jump and you fly, it's the most rewarding thing that you can ever ask for. And so without your intuition, you go down a path that someone else laid out for you, whether you think so or not. About 98% of thoughts are not our own. And without your intuition, you're living life influenced by those thoughts, the contagions of social media, the contagions by traditional media, the contagions of our education system, the contagions of our friends that they have absorbed, their doubts, their fears, their worries. But what if you could liberate yourself from that? What if you can liberate yourself from negativity, fear, doubt, worry, and live life guided by your true nature, your core essence? So what I actually have for all of you is I have 8 benefits in developing your intuition out of a myriad of benefits in developing your intuition. And the first thing that I have for all of you is that it accelerates your success in getting what you desire. We have what is known as a creator field. And this creator field, okay, is responsible for shaping and dictating all the matter that is around you. So the people that are in your life are reflecting back to your creator field. Science calls this field of energy, an aspect of this energy, they call it an electromagnetic field like we talked about earlier. And this energy, again, it's responsible. Life is a mirror. It is mirroring back to you your own energy. And it's something that I have shared for years now, and I'm going to share it here again, which is if I were to put a full-length mirror in front of you and I asked you to have this mirror wave to you, right, your reflection wave back to you, what would you have to do? You'd have to wave, right? It's so funny. typically people get so confused with this question because it's literally so simple. They're like, I don't know. I'm like, wave. They're like, oh yeah. If I asked you to have your reflection jump, what would you have to do? You'd have to jump. If I asked you to have your reflection turn around 1,000,000 times, what would you have to do? You have to turn around 1,000,000 times. You're so smart. You're getting it. Let's say I took that mirror away and I put a person in front of you. And I asked you to have that person put you first. What would you have to do? You would have to put yourself first. If I asked you to have this person embrace you, what would you have to do? You'd have to embrace yourself. If I asked you to have this person compliment you, what would you have to do? You'd have to compliment yourself. And so all of life, it is a law of the universe that life is a reflection of our energy. So the obstacles and the adversity that we're attracting in our life are reflecting that creator field. I want you to remember this word, reflecting our creator field. Now, the first benefit that we have, well, we've named a number of different benefits in developing your intuition, but the first one, as we're getting organized here, is it accelerates your success in getting what you desire. So when you have intuition, okay, what happens is the thing that really disconnects us, or the thing that muddies the water of our intuition, our clear signal, is emotional bias. When we have, now you might be wondering, what is an emotional bias? Emotional bias is when we have preference over something, or we have an opinion about something. If we really, really want something to happen, and again, I know it feels like we're going all over the place. We're all going to tie this in with the mirror analogy and so on and so forth. So emotional bias is when we have a preference or an opinion about something. If we have an opinion about who someone is, you can never intuitively see them on a soul level. If you have a preference, a want for something to turn out a certain way, okay, that is going to disrupt your intuitive signal. Intuition is aligning with the objectivity of who you really are. Okay, maybe towards the end of this, I'll teach you how to begin that process, but intuition is aligning with objectivity. When you have preference and emotional bias, a lot of us have unresolved emotional wounds. We have emotional imbalances, right? We have these negative thoughts about the self. And so really what holds us back from attracting what it is that we desire is our high level of wanting things, is our high level of preference for things to be a certain way, is our emotional imbalance in one or more of the 8 different areas of our life. When you develop your intuition, you're able to identify the needle in a haystack blockage that is holding you back. If you're the creator of your reality, it's your energy blocks that are holding you back from attracting what you desire. Okay, I hope we're all following here. When you develop your intuition, okay, you're able to identify the needle in a haystack blockage that has been holding you back from attracting that thing into your life. When we have emotional bias, it is difficult to identify that needle in a haystack blockage because we are consumed in our blockage. Most people's emotions are through the roof. Even if you listening to this going, no, I'm a pretty objective person, intuition is the greatest truth teller that you could ever ask for. And so when you look intuitively, a lot of the times the answer is going to be different than the one that you think you have. I have been shocked when I thought maybe I wasn't angry and I looked in intuitively and I was like, oh no, I'm still angry about this thing that happened maybe like a couple of months ago and I thought I overcame it. Now through that process, your intuition gives you the step-by-step on how to actually overcome that blockage. And now you've just accelerated this success in getting the thing that you desire. So that's the first thing to understand, is that your higher self has these pulls. Who you really are, your true nature. It's like when I say higher self, I'm meaning like the authentic you has these authentic wants. When you develop your intuition, you're able to identify those authentic wants. And you're able to actually get them. You're actually to get the things that are going to bring a smile on your face. Get the things that are high level of joy into your life. You're able to get, if you have these blocks in regards to money, you can start to go, okay, what is the emotional imbalance? In regards, we have 8, you're getting a lot of information at once. We have 8 different areas of our life. Where is the emotional imbalance in regards to, in one or more of the 8 different areas of my life, where does this emotional imbalance exist? You can identify it. And when you communicate with guides, when you communicate with angels and higher self, you can pull the information that is going to be effective, tailored to you, that's going to allow you to overcome it. It may not be easy right away. It's going to give you neuroscience techniques to rewire the mind, to change your inner dialogue. A lot of the information that your higher self has to offer you, and intuitive information has to offer you, is changing how you communicate with yourself, changing your inner dialogue, changing how you see yourself in the world. And this is really detail oriented, but when you develop your intuition, now you've inserted into your creator field success. You're cleaning up your creator field, and there resides success. Okay, so that's the first thing that we have. The second thing that we have and benefit in regards to developing your intuition allows you to see life through the lens of source energy. Source energy sees life through the lens of truth, essentially. And a lot of the times, the way that we see reality is distorted. It's sort of like, it's sort of like those news articles or those news stories that only share one side of the story. And many people subscribe to what they see. They believe in what they see. And then a couple of months goes down the line, and the news has to take back that story that they shared and go, hey, we didn't give context to the bigger picture. Or it's sort of like a friend sharing one side of their story with you, and you're on their side and all these things. You then find out there was an aspect of the story that they didn't share, whatever it may be. We are all experiencing life this way. We all have our preferences. We all have our ideas of the ways things should be. We all have our opinions. And we're not seeing life through the lens of unconditional love, through the lens of source truth. We all see the world through a different lens, and that's a beautiful thing. But when you develop your intuition, you get to see things from the perspective of truth. Source equals truth. Source, the highest expression of where we come from, equals truth. And so it's sort of like you get to see life from the place of objectivity. It's sort of like being in a movie, and you get to see all perspectives, right? Because you get to sit there and see all perspective. Intuition allows you to see life through the lens of truth. Another thing that we have on this list is that intuition allows you to heal the body. The body is a reflection of our energy. When you are feeling stuck in regards to, say, something like your career. Let's say you're feeling stuck in regards to something like your career. The physical body is going to take on that stress. And as you progress on the adventure that life has to offer, and if that stress is left unattended to, left unresolved, that stress is going to simply compound and it's going to grow. And it's going to express itself in the physical body because you feel stress. Intuition allows you to identify what area of life caused the stress. It's going to give you the solution to overcome that stress in that area of life and then heal the physical body. Okay? Recently, I had this mental fog, a little bit of extra mental fog, a little bit extra lethargy. And I was kind of like, okay, what's going on in my own life? And I looked in intuitively, and immediately intuition gave me the solutions. It showed me what was causing the mental fog, what aspects of my life were causing the mental fog. It showed me the answers, the resolution, and sure enough, it cleared and it created this high level of clarity within me. And so when you have these blockages within the body, when you have a sickness, when you have an injury, it is all reflecting if we are the creators of our reality. Life is going to reflect to us through life, through people and the physical body, through experiences and through the physical body, these blockages. And so when you develop your intuition, you can optimize your health. You can begin to eat food intuitively, right? A lot of people go, again, we talked about in the beginning of this, they share on social media all the time, like there are different schools of thought as far as like what's good for the human body. What's good for you is going to be tailored to you. And when you begin to eat food intuitively, you can optimize your success in life because the diet is going to give you more energy, and that energy is going to align you more with your purpose. When you align more with your purpose, you're going to feel happy. When you feel happy, you're going to attract more things that align you with happiness. So you can optimize your diet. You can know when to eat, how to eat, where to eat, all these other things. And what happens through this process, it just increases the goodness in regards to all areas of life, okay? So that is number 3 on our list. It allows you to heal the body. It allows you to optimize your health. Another thing that we have on this incredible friggin' list, it allows you to make decisions that are in your highest good. Now, I want to talk about this one for a second because highest good, it might sound great on paper. A lot of the questions that I ask my higher self, a lot of the questions, the intuitive questions that I ask, source, energy, when I'm looking for guidance in my life, which is literally dang near every second of the day, I live life guided by higher self and source at this point. But when you make decisions that are in your highest good, it doesn't mean that you're going to enjoy that decision that you make right away. If a decision is in your highest good, it might be that that decision is going to cause a challenge, is going to cause an adversity, an obstacle that is going to have you recalibrating the way that you live your life, changing everything, and now it changes the trajectory in a positive way of your life in the most amazing, brilliant way. So when you say things like the highest good, it's actually an incredible asset to have, because like number one asset in having intuition is that it accelerates your success in highest good, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the joy-filled route right away. There are long-term benefits of the highest good, but there have been so many decisions that I have made in my life where I asked about highest good, and I realized in that moment, it doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to enjoy it. When you're living life influenced by your own mind, again, 98% of thoughts are not your own. So you're 98% of the time living a life that is not your own. Even if you think you are. I don't want to challenge you. If this is triggering you, I hate to be the guy to do it. 98% of thoughts are not your own, okay? When you develop your intuition, it's sort of a little bit of a tug of war between your higher self, your true self, your core essence self, the who you really are. It's a tug of war between that, okay, your higher self. I'm just using different words to describe your true self. It's a tug of war between your true self and your ego. And there are things that will trigger your ego that currently you probably don't even realize. At least I can speak for myself. In my experience, there are so many things that I think this won't trigger my ego. And of course, my intuition has me go a different route, and all of a sudden my ego is poked at. It's like, I'm scared. Why? The ego's job, again, is to keep us feeling safe and happy and all these things. Not safe and happy, but it's designed to keep us feeling safe and alive, really. It's designed to keep us safe and alive. So let me clarify that. The body actually feels, if you're addicted to not feeling safe, the ego will actually feel safe not feeling safe. So let's clarify that. The ego's job is just to keep you alive. And if you make an intuitive decision, and the intuitive decision is to go do a thing that is like quit your job, and which I don't recommend, okay, because there are ways to ask enough intuitive questions, but it's like quit my job, go do this, or whatever it may be. Your ego is going to flare up and be like, well, what about the money I'm making? What about the X, Y, and Z that I'm making? I was living out in LA, my own personal story. A lot of you know this. My own personal story, I was living out in LA. I was pursuing a career in music as a singer and a songwriter. And as I was out in LA, I was there for about 4 or 5 years. And I learned how to develop my intuition. I spent many, many years developing my intuition, learning how to ask the right questions to get the right answers, to get profitable answers, to get answers that align me with my soul path, soul pull. I had an ego death moment. And it wasn't a moment. It lasted a couple of years. Intuitively, I heard that music was meant to take a back seat. I had all my ego, my identity wrapped up in this guy who's pursuing music. And by the way, in my head, I'm making it in music. And because of that, I was like, I'm going to make it in music. And I was living life influenced by an unresolved emotional wound. And that emotional wound was when I was a kid, I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel like people saw me for who I really was. And so I didn't feel seen for who I really was. And this thought formed within my mind, if I can sing and write songs, so I started singing and writing songs when I was 10, I'll go out and I'll be famous, and then people will like me. Most of us, most people on this planet are living life influenced by how they think they should live. On paper, living a life of a singer and a songwriter, you would think that is living life guided by my true self, or that is living life, I should say, influenced by guided by my true self. You would think that path wasn't influenced in me. Even that path, that is I didn't go down the traditional education route of like college and things of that nature. So on paper, you would think, oh no, Nikki's living his own life. It's guided by intuition. No. It was still influenced by a wound in order to feel seen by others. So I develop my intuition. I get objective, and I hear that my higher self is pulled for me to have music take a back seat. And it was devastating. For about 2 years, it was really hard. Like accepting it. It was really hard to accept this. And oh man, it was really difficult. And I just kept deciding I'd develop my intuition. I decided that at some point I would start creating content around intuition. I decided that I don't have to make a big decision. Just keep developing your intuition, Nikki. Learn about energy work. And I learned all about energy healing. And that's something that I work with clients. It's like energy work and energy healing. Learn about the laws of the universe. Learn how to articulate and express the laws of the universe. And all of a sudden, the business took on a life of its own. Social media began to grow. The in-person stuff began to grow. And I had the courage and the strength to move on. I cannot tell you. It's almost hard to put this into words, because I don't know if I have the words for it, how grateful I am that I found the inner strength to have music take a backseat. I have been singing and writing songs since I was 10. I've had this dream since I was a kid. And it was the best decision that I could have ever made in my entire life. And I'm sharing this story with you guys because on the outside, things can really seem convincing that you are living life guided by your intuition because it isn't on paper a life that someone else told you to live, but still it is still influenced by something outside of you because the world told us what a path looks like that is off the beaten trail. Like the world has literally shown us still what that looks like. Living life guided by your own self, it's going to come from totally within you. Aligning with your purpose and your mission, it's going to come from your intuitive self. And so that is the challenge. And when you begin to live a life guided by your highest good, there is a benefit to it. It accelerates your success. But there are challenges along the way. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's 4. So this is going to be number 5. Number 5, benefit in developing your intuition, is that it aligns you with what we could refer to as your inherent high-level genius and your inherent high-level skill sets. What a lot of people don't realize is that we have an Albert Einstein and beyond level genius. Yep, that is true. And most people in their lifetime don't even realize where their genius resides. Most people in their lifetime don't realize where their excellence resides. I want you to think of excellence in the world, whether it be Serena Williams, whether it be Michael Jordan, souls that have activated an aspect of their own genius. Steve Jobs, Stephen Curry. I want you to think about the minds that at least you feel have lived out their genius. Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, George Washington. I want you to think about the lives that have lived out their excellence. Did you know, that you have an Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs, and beyond, Walt Disney and beyond level genius that resides within you? Most people don't even realize this because of, again, we go down this path that the world had laid out for us. Okay? And one of my favorite memes on the socials, on social media, is the meme where it's not necessarily a meme. It's just basically showcasing if you were to judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you would think that fish is stupid. Or one of the analogies that I've thought of, which is like, if you were an alien and you were to see an 8-month or a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old baby, and you were to see, let's go 1-year-old baby and a 1-year-old puppy dog. You might think that puppy dog is more intelligent than the human baby, right? Because the puppy advanced and grew and can walk, and maybe a 1-year-old can walk, so maybe go 6-month-old baby and a 6-month-old dog. That 6-month puppy can walk, can start to follow some commands maybe at 6 months, can run, all these other things, right? So if you were to judge the difference between a puppy and a human, you would think that the puppy is smarter than a human. Now, some people might argue that dogs are smarter than humans, but I think you guys go, I'm just kidding, but you know where I'm going with this, right? But, that human needs a little bit more time, right? And so where I'm going with this is that just because you haven't realized your genius, or the school system or our education system didn't know how to help you realize your genius and develop it and strengthen your relationship, doesn't mean that genius doesn't reside within you. I've shared this story on the podcast before, but I'm going to share it again. My dad, who I love so much, he's an incredible soul. And we won, and I shared this on the podcast before, but I'm going to share it again, which is we won. He was my basketball coach in 3rd grade and in 8th grade. In 3rd grade, we won the championship. In 8th grade, we won the championship. And something my dad was just incredible at, which is empowering people to see their innate skill sets, where a lot of basketball coaches, they would just see the obvious good players. The ones that were obvious on the outside, they can dribble, they can shoot, they were sort of the cooler players. When my dad was the coach, he would see a player on the outside that maybe didn't look like he was that good at basketball, but he would recognize his speed. And this is what I've talked about on another episode of this of Source Clarity. I've talked about this, but it's worth mentioning again. He would recognize their speed, and let's call this guy Billy Bob. That wasn't his name, but I remember he had a lot of speed, and he would have him focus on his speed. Billy Bob, we're calling him, would always be open on the other side of the court before anyone else for a fast break and get open layups all the time. And he would do this with each player. And then we had this incredible continuity with the team. We had this incredible flow state because everyone felt empowered because their innate skill set was recognized and realized and brought to the forefront. And so for you guys realizing this, when you develop your intuition, you give yourself an opportunity to realize your Walt Disney self, your Steve Jobs and beyond level genius self, your Albert Einstein and beyond level self. And just imagine what begins to happen when you live out this life, when you begin to live your life guided by that level of genius. Most people do not see the genius that resides within them. And it causes havoc in their life because if we go back to what we were focusing in on earlier, that we are the creators of our reality and all of life is a reflection of our energy. If you do not feel you are a genius and you do not see your genius, and if you don't have intuition and you don't identify your inherent high-level genius, all of life is going to reflect back to you feeling stupid. All of life is going to reflect back to you these people, these experiences. I've had this growing up in school because, again, the education system doesn't have a space to facilitate where one can recognize their brilliance. And when I was in school, I was distracted, not paying attention, doing all these other things when I was in school. And because I wasn't paying attention, my grades, they stunk. Because my grades stunk, I thought I was stupid, really simple. And then, of course, my closest friends would always make jokes in regards to Nikki's an idiot. And I had to attract another friend who I thought was an idiot and make me feel better, so I would call him an idiot. Now everyone's calling each other idiots, right? That's kind of what guys do. We had a good time making fun of each other growing up. I had a friend group that did that, but not really in a toxic way, in just a guy funny way. Anyway. Whatever. So my point with this is when you realize your genius, people are going to start to see your genius. When you realize your genius, you're going to start to invest in that genius. You're going to start to live life guided by that genius. You're going to start to engage with different aspects of your life that will elicit a joy within you. It's really funny. I remember we had one of our intuitives in our intuition offerings. I think it was one of our intuition offerings. And we did a thing to identify one of their inherent high-level skill sets. We all have inherent high-level skill sets that maybe we don't even realize. So we have a genius, we have skill sets. And one of the things that we intuited for her is that she's really good at piano inherently. She's like, I've never played piano in my life. I'm like, well, your soul has an inherent gift to play the piano. She buys a keyboard and comes back to class. She's like, oh my God, I love playing the piano, and begin to progress as a pianist. She didn't even know that she had this skill set to just naturally learn piano well. And so you all have these skill sets. Mine has been firearms training. It's something I would have never guessed for myself because my mind has been influenced to think of firearms as one way, not negative or positive. And I had a neutral perspective about firearms, but I never thought it was something that I would be good at. And I've been firearms training, purchased a firearm, all these other things, and I love it. I didn't realize it was an innate skill set of mine. Now, like intuition, you got to work on your skill sets. Intuition, yes, it's inherent within all of us, but it is something that many of us have not learned how to strengthen and connect with. So that's one of my favorite aspects of intuition. Okay, another aspect of intuition that's incredible is that it allows you to prepare for world events. Okay, so there's a lot of craziness that is happening in the world. There are people that are in a position of power that are sort of pulling the puppet strings as to the different craziness and the events, and there's a lot of uncertainty currently in the world. And I won't get into too much detail with this now. I'd like to create episodes on this more, but as you have your intuition, you can this is coupled with it allows you to identify the truth. So actually, I have 9 things that I wrote down. So we're going to add those 2 together to make this 8, but it allows you to identify the truth in what's going on, right? It allows you to see, like when maybe sort of you're receiving information from a news outlet, You can intuitively identify, is that information accurate? Or you can intuitively identify how to properly prepare for the events that are happening in the world, how like where to live in the world that's going to benefit you. So you're able to identify truths that are happening in regards to the world, especially in regards to all the uncertainty. Prepare to the highest degree in regards to the things that are happening in the world. Also, though, it's a truth meter. Not just in regards to the, you guys are like, Nikki, you just said that. Yeah, so truth meter in regards to the world. Also, it's a truth meter in regards to your personal life. I remember I had gotten out of a relationship when I lived out in LA. And I was close, we started off as friends, and then we went into a relationship for a couple of years. And we fell out of a relationship, and we had a mutual friend, and I've shared this on an episode before, but just scanning through this. And I had a feeling, I had an intuitive pull that she was with a friend of ours. Okay, this is after the relationship. And I asked the friend of ours, I was like, hey, are you and my ex at that time, are you guys like together? And he's like, no. And everything on paper looked as if they were not together. Come to find out, my intuition was right. Now, I'm sure some of you have had a similar experience, maybe not in regards to relationship where you knew something was happening, because intuition's loud. But again, it is a truth meter. When someone is telling you something that is one way, but your intuition is hearing it a different way, it's going to save you a lot of time in regards to your relationships that are romantic, business relationships, social relationships. So intuition, it is a truth meter. It is a lie detector. It is the greatest lie detector that you could ever ask for. Okay, we have two more, which is, actually, no, yes, kind of. Gives you genius ideas is one that we have. So genius ideas, it kind of goes hand in hand. It taps you into your inherent high-level genius. So many ideas that I have intuited have come from intuition, like the creation of source clarity. Ideas that I've been able to intuit for friends that they've integrated into their businesses and taken their businesses to a new level that is just so incredible. So that is that. And the last thing is my favorite, okay? 8 benefits in developing your intuition. I don't know if we're on 8, but we're going to call it 8, okay? And there are so many more that we could get into, but these are just 8. It allows you to align with your destiny. Your destiny, your mission, and your purpose is the thing that's going to bring you happiness. The reason why you feel blocked in your life is because you don't feel you're in alignment with that destiny, your mission, your purpose. And you might be wondering, you're going, dude, hey, dude, man, bro, homie. You're going, hey, dude, man, bro, homie, what is destiny? What is my destiny? Your destiny is the thing that Source instilled within you that only you can fulfill. Source instilled a unique mission and a purpose within you. And when you live out that mission and that purpose, when you live life guided by that mission and that purpose, you're living a life that is guided by joy, fulfillment, and abundance. Imagine having abundance without joy and fulfillment. Imagine having joy and fulfillment without abundance. Actually, that might be fine. But imagine having all three: fulfillment, joy, abundance. Your destiny is living life guided by the mission and purpose Source instilled within you. And when you have these blocks and these obstacles in your life, it's an absolute game changer, right? Because those blocks, they're actually bringing you closer. It's sort of like a wake-up call to get on your soul's path, your soul's pull. There's always going to feel like something is missing in your life if you're not aligning with that unique destiny. And you might be wondering, you're like, well, do we have free will if we have a destiny? Yes, we still have free will. But your destiny is something that will inevitably happen. But Source created this thing known as past lives. And we have other lives that we lived. And one of the reasons Source created past lives is because maybe in that lifetime we didn't fulfill our destiny. And so we come back to fulfill that destiny. Maybe it takes 1,000 lifetimes. When you develop your intuition, it doesn't have to take 1,000 lifetimes. You can do it in this lifetime. Now, with intuition, it doesn't mean there's not challenges. In fact, at first, there's going to feel like there's maybe more challenges because you're not going to have the safety and security of what's practical and what's right. But it's the most rewarding path that you can ever ask for. And I almost hesitate to say things that could sound superficial, like it brings you more money in the romantic relationship. But I also say it because it is true. It is true. The people that we attract in our lives, up until the relationship we have when we're in alignment with that destiny, they're meant to get us on that path. They're teachers for us. When you don't have money in your life, it is a teacher. all of these teachings align you with your destiny, your mission, and your purpose. So when you align with your intuitive self and you intentionally align with your mission, your purpose, your destiny, now you're living a life guided by intentionally attracting abundance and not from a place of wounding. There's a difference between attracting a romantic partner because you need it. I have to have this romantic partner because I'm wounded. When you align, when you deepen and you strengthen the relationship with your intuition, you develop your intuition, you heal that self because intuition gives you the resolution to heal it. And then you begin to attract and intend to attract what it is you desire from a place of authenticity. So you start to go, okay, I'm going to attract a partner because they're going to reflect my own whole and completeness from within, and we're going to amplify the goodness in each other's lives versus I need this. Or if it's money, right? If you're attempting to attract financial abundance, instead of attracting it because you want to feel happier or you want to feel more valuable or you want to feel more safe and more secure and all these other things, you'll go in your brain, okay, I'm going to feel that from within. I'm going to feel whole and complete within. And then money is going to reflect that, and that money is going to allow me to help and change more lives. And I'm going to help other people make money, and I'm going to help other people align with their destiny and their mission and their purpose. And so the most exciting aspect of intuition, essentially, and what I love to help people do more, the thing that I love to help people with more than anything in this world is aligning with their mission and their purpose. And we access our intuition through harnessing high levels of clarity, source clarity. And when we harness high levels of clarity, we strengthen the relationship with our intuition. When you strengthen the relationship with your intuition, you live life guided by your destiny. When you live life guided by your destiny, you begin to manifest and attract the things that you want. And when I'm referring to what you want, I'm not referring to your ego. I'm referring to your true self, your authentic self. There are all these things that you think you want that you probably only want because you're feeling deficient in love in one or more of the 8 different areas of your life. So let's think about that. The only reason why like you want certain things, like if you're feeling that want is a feeling of lack of having. So the only reason why you feel a lack of having is because you feel deficient in love in one or more of the 8 different areas of life. When you develop your intuition, you get to identify what your higher self is pulled to go after, and you get to go get it. You get to align with the high achiever that you are at your core. I know someone in your life caused you to feel like you're not a high achiever. I know someone in your life caused you to feel like you were meant and destined to be alone. I know someone in your life caused you to feel like this world is just not meant for you. I know the circumstances of the world caused you to feel like you aren't meant, again, to be a high achiever. Well, develop your intuition. See what Source has to say about that. Develop your intuition. See what higher self says about that. When you develop your intuition, you can see what your guides, your angels have to say about that. And when you have a conversation with Source, you realize you're having a conversation with the highest of highs intelligence that you are an aspect of, by the way. And so what's more real? What someone told you or what the world told you, or what Source has to say? Again, there are challenges as you begin to progress on this adventure. No doubt about it. There is a rite of passage that happens. Absolutely. There's a purification process that happens as you develop your intuition. But man, the benefits of developing your intuition are a million times worth it over having temporary safety and security and a lifetime of anxiety, a lifetime of stress, a lifetime of worry. You get to live a life guided by fulfillment, live a life guided by joy. And once again, the greatest North Star that you have in this world resides within you. I always share with the people that I get to work with in our community. I always say, the greatest healer that you have in this world resides within you. The greatest teacher that you have in this world is life. And as you go after the things that you're asking for, when you live life guided by that true nature self, your intuitive self, life is going to challenge you. Life is going to be this incredible teacher. You're going to come up against obstacles and adversity. And remember, the obstacles and adversity are reflecting your energy. So it's going to showcase. But when you have this asset and this skill set, there's going to be things, again, that cause worry. But the rewards last a lifetime. The rewards last a lifetime. Living life influenced by that 98% of thoughts that are not your own in your brain, and that's what most of us have been living up until intuition. When you live life influenced by that, you're living life influenced by distraction. How often are you distracting yourself from your own wounds? Whether it be you're playing music in your car so much to the point, and I've done this, where it becomes a distraction. And you're hearing all the music that's distracting you, or you're scrolling on social media longer than you intuitively feel you should, or you're hanging out with the wrong people, but you're settling because you don't have to focus on this emptiness within you, even though it's not really emptiness, it's your intuition pulling you to align with your destiny and your purpose, right? As you develop your intuition, it changes everything. And there's something within you in watching this. I'm guessing there's something probably within you that is opening up, that is expanding within you. That is your intuitive pull. There's all these incredible ways to begin this process of developing your intuition. I'll give you just a little bit. We talked about in the beginning of this, and I said I would share it towards the end. Aligning with your intuition. It is aligning with the objectivity of who you really are. And so the first thing that I want you guys to begin to practice and take away from this episode is to go, okay, how can I begin to align with the objectivity of who I really am? Start to focus on the breath. The breath purifies your relationship with the self, and it sort of clears out. It creates clarity, and it sort of allows you to observe the negativity, the fear within the mind, instead of identifying with it. So it allows you to create a distance between who you really are and your emotional bias. So to align with objectivity, it begins by focusing on the breath. And that's the first thing that you want to begin to focus on. And then as you begin to progress, you start to tap on the heart, and you tap on the heart, and that's going to connect you more with who you really are. So if you're like, well, Nikki, I want more. For those that want more, we actually have an entire free workshop. You can get that below. Okay. And we also have a wait list for intuition. We call it intuition level 1 to begin the process. But I would, at first, if you have the intuitive pull, go to the free workshop below and developing your intuition. It's going to be somewhere in the show notes. It's a whole workshop to begin pulling information from the physical body. So there's all these different ways to pull intuitive information. We have from the physical body. You can pull from source, from guides, from angels. We have what's known as these areas of consciousness, known as chakras, that are along the spinal cord. We have the crown chakra. We have the third eye chakra, the heart. Goes all the way down to the root chakra. You can pull intuitive information from there. We have information you can pull from the Akashic records. You can actually, science has shown that the past and the future don't really exist. It's all energy. It's all happening at once. You can pull intuitive information from the past, from past lives, from the future. You can predict the future. All these other things. It's really freaking cool. I mean, I'm trying to think other places. There's something known as the thought field. You can pull information from people's thoughts. The list goes on. So I want to thank you for just listening to this episode, taking the time out of your day to listen to this episode that is all about intuition, some of the benefits, 8 out of many of the benefits of developing your intuition. It is a joy to have you in this community. Truly, it is so special. It is so wonderful. We will be back with another episode of Source Clarity Podcast next Saturday. We are every Saturday. We're here. And thank you. Thank you for being a part of this adventure. You are so wild and wonderful and incredible. Okay, I'm just saying a lot of fancy, sweet, loving words. All right. Alrighty, friends. Stay awesome and authentic. Alrighty. Peace.